and he has almost finished more than 10,000 procedures in the last 10 years. But he's not going to talk about medicine to you today. He's going to talk about totally different perspective to life. He'll give you lots of surprises. He'll give you a lot of tips. I'm sure you're going to enjoy Dr. Tashin's talk today. Wish you all the best to the listeners and to the speaker. Over to you, Dr. Tashin.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, all. Thank you, Dr. Sattar, for this nice introduction. And thank you, Faisal and Yash, for starting such a good thing at the time, which is when we needed this at the most, the empowerment talk, when people are depressed and people had enough time for all these things. Then, as you all know, we all are facing a big health issue, which is the COVID-19 pandemic. So I just wanted to get you one perspective, one aspect of health. So let me ask a question. For today, I think by today's data, we know that around 2.5, more than 2.5 million people are infected by the COVID, by the coronavirus. So in that case, if I'm asking how many are unhealthy due to COVID, is it the 2.5 million people or more? So for answering that question, you know what is health. You should know what is health. So the WHO, the World Health Organization, has defined health as it's not the mere absence of disease. It's a complete physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. It includes three parts, basically physical, mental, and spiritual. We'll leave the spiritual part. So I'm asking the question again, like if 2.5 million people are infected, how many are physically unhealthy? Then the answer will be 2.5 million. If I'm asking how many are mentally unhealthy, is it 2.5 million? No, I am not infected by COVID, but I'm facing some mental stress because of COVID. And my colleagues are stressed, you are stressed, everyone in the world is stressed. So when we are talking about this, we can see that it can be, instead of 2.5 million, it will be 2.5 billion. 2.5 billion people are unhealthy because of this pandemic. And most of them are unhealthy because of the mental stress that they are taking. So how do we treat these people? How do we manage them? So this 2.5 million people will be treated by the doctors inside the hospitals or the clinics, or even by the isolation in their own homes. Whereas the 2.5 billion people who are unhealthy because of the the mental stress, they have to treat themselves. For such treatments, for treating themselves for this mental stress, we need talks like this empowerment talks. So there is the point, or there is the value of Mr. Faisal and Yash starting this such a wonderful thing. And my audience is not the first part, the second part, that is the 2.5 billion people. So before going into the topic, my topic was how did I heal myself, or how did I manage these stressful situations which happened to my life, and how I am seeing these stressful situations and how I am taking it forward. This is my experience I'm sharing. I have 4 pearls for you. I think that will be useful to you. But the problem, it is a peculiar kind of pearl because it is unpolished. You have to polish it every day, then only that pearl will be shining through. Otherwise, it becomes very dull. Then how do you polish it? You can polish that pearl by practicing it. If you practice that pearl will be shining every day and it will brighten up your days. So let me come to the first pearl. That the first thing is live the present moment. That's my first pearl. Live the present moment. So everybody is living in the present moment physically, but mentally, either they will be jailed by the previous experiences, their mindset will be a kind of regret or guilt of the past experiences, or they will be fear about the future, which is unpredictable. So, is there anything that you can do what happened in the past? No. Is there anything that you can surely do for the future? No. So, what you can do surely is the moment. For example, if somebody is depressed, now at this moment, he have an option. Just I'm depressed, I'm sad, I'm feeling low. I'm just lying down in the bed, covered by the blanket, I'm just sleeping or pretending to be sleeping. Or he can be active, do search out what I can do to overcome this and do something positive and overcome the situation and control the situation, take charge of the situation. So many people in this COVID era, they are not afraid of the present moment. They are afraid of the future. What will happen tomorrow? Will I get infected? Or what happens to my job? Or what happens to the economy and all those things? This is not predictable. No one can predict it. Can you predict? I am very much impressed about the history of Germany, which was defeated twice in 2 world wars. World War I by 1919, it was done. Nothing, and they have so much of blockade, and they have to pay so much of money to the Allies. And within 20 years, they became one of the biggest army, very fierce army, which almost completely taken over the entire Europe. And it needed the US from the other continent to come and rescue France and UK from the Germany. And after World War II, again it was crumbled. And even now, if you see some product, it's a German product, you know that it's a good product. What about Japan? Again, they have been blasted by 2 nuclear bombs, and till even by 1970s, within 30 years after the World War, they were one of the financial superpower where US started respecting them. And even now, product from Japan, made in Germany, like our cars or the products, anything, even in the medical field, you see, they are the one of the best. Could anyone predict that in 1945? No. So no one can predict what will happen in the future. So don't worry about the future. Live the present moment. Then the saying is, yesterday is the past, tomorrow is the future, and today is a gift where you can work. That's why it is called the present. It's a gift. That's why it is called present. So this is the first point. So you are ready. You are ready to forget about your past. You are ready to get rid of the fear of the future. Then what should do? What should be the next step? What should I change in my attitude towards life? There comes the second pearl. It is called proactivity. Most of you have heard the word proactive. The proactivity means you are doing something proactively to understand that there is almost something different or almost opposite of that is called reactive. For example, most of the animals in the world that are reactive. Let us take an example of a dog. If you pelt a stone on the dog, it will bark. If it feels hungry, it will search for food. It cannot delay its response or change its response. Like if you are pelting a stone, it cannot think that it's okay, fine, this is not the right moment, and let him do that. I'm not such a guy. I will not bark at him. He cannot think. That dog cannot think. It can only bark because it's the response system that is produced. It is the reactive response. It cannot think about it. Whereas human beings can think. If somebody is scolding me, somebody is misbehaving towards me, so what I can do is I can think I don't want to waste my time on him, or he's talking like this because he's stressed. Actually, instead of uh, behaving bad to him or scolding him, I should help him. I can think like that. I can change my response to that stimulus. So, in simple words, animals are the slaves of the environmental stimuli, where it cannot change its response, where human beings are no more slaves to the environment. It can change, the human beings can change his response towards the stimulus according to his wish. But even though if we have this ability to work, think, behave proactively, most of us are reactive. Most of us are reactive. Like we can predict, if I am saying something to this guy, he'll take the exactly what the thing that I'm expecting. That is the reactive response. If I tell something bad to him, he'll say the same, like the dog. So we have to change ourselves, separate it from the animal thing, and we have to act proactively. This is not an individual interactions, it is towards anything that comes in front of you. Even a COVID, the COVID is coming and starting to frighten you. You can be reactive and be fearful, or you can be proactive and do something which can prevent the disease, or which can prevent the spread of the disease, which can prevent the mental stress to the disease, and you can help others out. So you can change the response to any stress that is coming towards you by changing your response to it. This is called proactivity. So from my example, from my experience, I can tell you some stories. Around, if you are getting bored, please let me know. You can do that by giving me some message or something like that. Or if I'm getting delayed also, you can just tell me that.
Everything is fine. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Around 2.5 to 3 years back, I'm working in Aster MIMS Hospital. It's Kottakkal, that is in Kerala. Our hospital here is one of the tertiary hospitals where very sick patients are being referred to. So around 2.5 years back, I got a call from the from the ICU saying that one of the patient had a childbirth from outside hospital, and she started bleeding. And bleeding is a complication of, sometimes it's rare but deadly complication of childbirth. And she was referred to a hospital, and her condition is very bad. So I asked, what can I do? I'm a cardiologist. So the doctor said that every doctor of the hospital is here. There is a mob and people outside. They're very anxious, very agitated. Could you please come and be in the team so that we'll all feel good? I told, no issues, I'll come. Then I came to the hospital. So many people were there outside the ICU. And when I got inside, my picture was, I was imagining a lady with in a sick condition, but the situation is much different. There was a girl. If you see her, you can assess her age like 18 years, the max. Very thin-bodied girl. There is no BP recordable. She's unconscious. Heart is not working because of the excess bleeding. Everything inside the body is damaged. And so many doctors are trying to save her life and the life of the newborn baby also. And after around half an hour to 45 minutes, I was there. It was a very difficult situation to see, because the girl was lying down, no response. People are compressing her chest, giving oxygen, giving medicines, and all those things. And after around 45 minutes to 1 hour, we had to declare that lady died, that girl died. It's not like a mother and a child expired. It was like a small baby and a bigger girl expired because of the bleeding that happens after the delivery. It happens many times. And that was one of the very difficult situation that I can take. I was feeling so sad. so sad. And prior day, the previous day to that, I came to the hospital around 2 o'clock in the night, rushing to the hospital to save the life of a 62-year-old man, came with a heart attack. So when this girl was dying and I was standing there, I was thinking, I came rushing yesterday to save the life of a 62-year-old man. Now here is a girl, 18-year-old young mother, who needs to be survived for the upbringing of her earlier children and for this child and for her husband, all these people who should live, but we are short of things to save her. That affected me a lot. And after that day, I couldn't sleep. And after 1 or 2 days, I started searching. So at this point, I was struck with a negative thought, negative emotion, a sad situation which was burning inside my mind. So if I'm reactive, what can I do? I have multiple options. I can tell this one to some of my friends, ignore these emotions, try to suppress it. Or I can think, I can divert my mind to something else, like my practice or something else. So I can be reactive, just weep, just cry, and let the emotion go. That is the reactive response. What can be a proactive response to this? A proactive response to this will be how to prevent and how to avoid such deaths in the future. That's the proactive response. So this proactive response should be like that. So what I did was to overcome this, that burning was there inside my mind. I started reading about PPH and all those things, and I understood that. Instead, what happens is that the patient is bleeding. After a lot of bleeding, the blood stops coagulating, or it will not stop. The blood has a property to clot itself inside the blood vessels when it is coming out of the blood vessels, so that even if there is bleeding, the bleeding stops its own. But after a lot of bleeding, the clotting will not happen. That's why the further bleeding happens and it leads to the death of the patient. So in that case, what we can do is, the surgeon, the only option the gynecologist is to do a surgery and remove the uterus. But the problem is, when they are cutting open the abdomen, then the blood starts coming from that side also. So that's the issue of managing this kind of patients. Then I understood that we were doing angioplasties. We were going through the wrist of the patient with a small incision, going to the heart and removing the block. So instead of that, if we can go to the uterus, and instead of removing the blocks, if you can produce a block inside the blood vessel which is supplying the blood into the uterus, we can stop the bleeding. And this is called embolization. And I started learning about embolizations and wanted to do that and help the people. And after a lot of struggle, we started doing embolizations. And now we are the leading hospital in Kerala and even in India doing embolizations. And we could save so many lives after doing this embolization. So I started doing embolizations in Kottakkal, Kerala, and patients started coming from Kerala and outside Kerala, other states. And then the Aster chairman, Dr. Azad, invited us to other GCC countries. We went to Qatar, we went to Oman, we went to Maldives, we went to Sri Lanka, and we also came to Dubai. And during our visit to Dubai, because of this, to introduce this new procedure, this embolization, I happened to meet Dr. Muniba, who is my friend, and she is the person who introduced me to Mr. Faisal, and that's why I am here. So the story of one proactive response that happened 2.5 years back. From that, we started embolization. We became the leaders and pioneers in embolization. We started coming to so many areas, came to Dubai, got a friend there, and that connection made me to stand in front of you today. So that's the power of proactivity. I can give one more example to you, or 1 or 2 examples to you. When I joined this hospital, I was, before joining that, I was working in another hospital of Astralum, that is in Calicut. And at that time, I was a junior cardiologist. And most of the days, the senior cardiologist will call the emergency doctor from the emergency physicians who is taking the night call and scold them for their mistakes of ECG reading. It's very tough for a person to read, any doctor to read an ECG. But most of the days, there will be some issue. You missed that, you missed this, why did you miss this? You don't know even this, like that, they start scolding. That happens at least 1 or 2 times a week. Then when I joined this hospital as the head of the department, I was alone. And I also started getting these kind of cases where the junior doctors and the doctors sitting in the emergency department, by their lack of knowledge, they are missing some findings, which is causing some harm to the patient. So that's a serious issue. So what should have been the reactive response? For every mistake, I should scold them. What should be the proactive response? The proactive response is, why this is happening? We have to check why this is happening. I checked. I understood that they don't know the basics of ECG and how to manage that ECG and read the ECG and manage the patient. So what I started is, I started an ECG course for them. I started a course every 1 hour, every week for 60 weeks continuously. That's for a year. And so many doctors from the neighboring hospitals joined us. And it became an ECG course. I started doing this course in this hospital, nearby towns in Calicut, in Thrissur, outside Kerala. And ultimately, I could do that, the same ECG course in the Sheffield University, UK. So again, a proactive response from me when I found out that the junior doctors are finding it difficult to read an ECG. That response, that reaction helped me to build an ECG course, write an ECG book, and do an ECG course even in UK. And I'm planning to do it in Dubai also. So this is a second response. One more example, I'll stop. 3-4 days back, on a Saturday night, I got a news from the WhatsApp or Facebook that one of the Keralite, I think he is a Keralite, suicided. He jumped from the 4th or 5th floor of a building because he was diagnosed to have COVID. I felt so bad that again that pain started coming. I couldn't sleep. And Sunday afternoon, Sunday around 2:20, I thought I should talk to them, talk to those people who are afraid of COVID unnecessarily, which is a self-limiting disease in most of the patients. And did a Facebook Live to explain what is COVID and don't worry about the COVID and all those things. After that, I'm feeling calm, comfortable, everything is okay. So when you are stressed, when you are facing a challenge, you should think proactively, find a solution, and give something to the society, something to the persons who are in need, that will ultimately make you successful, that ultimately make you happy, that ultimately make you healed yourself. So this is how I heal myself when I am finding or I am facing a problem. That is my second point. That is the proactivity. A proactivity doesn't mean that you have to do something good or you have to give something to someone. Proactivity means you are doing something good. It can be giving or you can also take. So if you are facing some issue, if you are getting something and you are feeling good, that is also proactivity. But in all the 3 examples, I said something, the proactivity which leads to giving something to someone. Why is it? This is my third word. If you want to be happy, you start giving something to someone. A giving need not be money. You can give money, you can give love, you can give care, you can give respect, you can give knowledge. What I'm doing now is I'm giving knowledge. That makes me happy. That makes me peaceful. That makes me content. So when you start giving, there is some change in the neurotransmitters in the brain, in the subconscious mind. The mind is saying that you have something extra, that's why you are giving. You have something good, that's why you are giving. So for giving someone something, the respect or care, if you are giving care, that means you have so much of care. If you are giving money, your mind is saying that don't worry, you are rich, you are feeling good, because you are giving money to someone means you are having such a excess thing inside. That neurotransmitters will be produced, endorphins are released, and you will feel calm, quiet, very peaceful. This is my third pearl for a happy, peaceful mind. And the fourth one to have is the gratitude. Very much. That is the fourth and most important thing, gratitude. If you are having the problem now is that every negative news has got 3 times the power of a positive news. If you have a negative emotion, like let us say somebody insulted you, you feel a negative, a depression from the baseline. That baseline is coming very low. Somebody praised you or somebody admired you in front of so many people, you will get a positive thing. Is it equal? The insult is 3 times more damaging than the positive good feeling. So if you want to counter a negative emotion, you need at least 3 positive things. So if you are getting, we all get some negative emotions in our life. That's for sure. For with some or other, we'll have some negative emotions. How do you compensate? By having 3 positive things. Is it possible? Very difficult. But if you change your if you train yourself, if you change your attitude, this is easily possible. Very, very easily possible. How is it possible? The problem now is that if I'm having a car, let us say it's a good car, good vehicle, good house, good relationships, good job, good salary, uh, good food, good exercise, everything good. And such a person is accustomed to all these good things. He is taking all these things granted. Even if my car is here for today, I'm sure it will be there for tomorrow. So I'm not seeing that difference. But today is today, tomorrow is tomorrow. There is a chance that car may not be there, or I may not be there to see the car. So tomorrow is unpredictable. But still, we all take all these things granted that it will be there. So if I want a normal person, if he wants to be happy, if he is having a 1 million car, he wants a 2 million car to be happy. Or if he is having a 1-storied building, he wants a 2-storied building. So it's like any increase only is the change from the existing is only perceived by the human beings. That's a problem. So instead of that, if you count everything, every blessing, every benefit, every boon that you have, one by one, and count it, you cannot count it. But still you start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After counting 10 or 15, you'll be happy. And for that, I may quote one person, that is Ali Banath. You must have heard about him. He was a philanthropist. He died because of cancer, I feel. He was a very rich person. And once he said, I have all the luxury cars in front of my house. I used them. I have gone to all the destinations in the world. I have eaten all the food, and every luxury that you name it on the earth, I had it. But can I tell you something? If you can wake up and go to the toilet without the help of a person, that blessing is far, far superior, far, far valuable than all the other things that I told before. That was his statement. Is it true? Isn't it true? It is, because I woke up every morning without any help, going to the toilet, changed my dress, washed, had this one, everything's smooth. But we all taking all these granted. To avoid that, the best thing is you can keep a gratitude diary. Gratitude diary means you just write down everything you see for positive, you write down. Oh, I got a good paste, I got a good juice, nice juice. Think about it. The juice, nobody can produce a juice. The fruit should be there. No one can produce a fruit. The tree should be there. The tree is not in our control. So everything is actually set for us. And say thanks whenever possible. I have seen in the Western, when we are traveling to Western world, they will thank for each and every small things. I thought it's show. Initially, I thought they are just showing up. But when I read and start practicing the same, I also feeling very good. If somebody is smiling at you, thank you so much. When I'm saying thank you, my subconscious mind is saying that you said thank you because you got something. You got something good. You will not thank someone who is hurting you, do you? No. So when you are thanking someone, the mind is saying that I got something, I'm happy. Again, I got something good, I'm happy. So that makes you happy. That's the gratitude. So split up everything that you have. You are in front of a computer now. You should be thankful. You are hearing this talk. You should be thankful. You have so many friends. You should be thankful. You are healthy. You should be thankful. When you are thanking all this, each and everything, you had a breakfast, you had a lunch, you had a room to stay, you had good clothes, you have everything. So each and everything you should count and thank. And if you start counting up to 15 or 20, before that, you will start feeling good. And after that, sometimes you may get ecstasy. So with that, can I wind up saying that we should live the present moment with a proactive behavior, with so much of gratitude. And this proactive behavior should be aimed at giving something to some of the fellow beings. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you so much. That's the best word I can give to you. Wow.
You're so welcome.
I need some time. Amazing story. My coach usually asks me, Faisal, go and play a bigger game. You know, he always asks me, Faisal, go and play a bigger game. And I have no idea how I play the bigger game. Like when you are telling your story, how you did this, I can't even tell what is that, embolization?
Embolization.
Yeah, it's really a heart-touching story, and that really make me feel that I can also play a bigger game, because what you achieved in 10 years time, that many people not even achieving in their lifetime. Thank you so much, sir. Now I would ask people in the participants to raise the questions in the chat box, and we will unmute you. Whatever the questions you have, please write it in the chat box, and we will unmute you. Yash, you want to add something?
Yeah. 1 second.
We have questions.
Thank you for this. Thank you for this wonderful talk, Mr. Tehseen. I think, Dr. Tehseen, this is a wonderful insight we have got. Like how calmly and composedly you have delivered the message to the community is amazing in this particular time. We are expecting a lot of questions from the people, and we have plenty of time right now, so we want you to be as much giving it back to the audience in terms of the Q&A, so that we can get more and more questions now rather than going to just be. So we have first question from
we have Rega is raised a hand. I will unmute Rega. Okay, Rega, you are unmuted. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, doctor. It was a fantastic talk, and we are really blessed to hear this one. I have a question here. Can we know how to handle people who are hurting us by just saying, no, thanks for giving us a learning, or how to take it? Because sometimes it put us down so much that it takes time for us to come back. So how to handle which is not in our control?
That is, thank you for your kind words. And the question was how to handle those persons who are hurting you. Am I correct? Hello?
Reka? Okay,
Reka, can you hear me?
Let me unmute. I think she went muted. Okay, you are unmuted. Please go ahead. Reka, again.
Yes, doctor, I can hear you. Yes, that's the question.
Okay. I can tell from my experience is that the best way to tackle a person is to have patience. You should be patient and continue to do good. And I can say that I have at least 4 or 5 best buddies who actually started the relationship by hurting me. I continued to be good with them, being patient, didn't do any harm. And recently, he was in a big trouble. And it's a big trouble. I gave all the support. And after that, he came to me and said, no one can forgive me what I did to you. And you had a great chance to harm me, but you didn't do that. It was so wonderful. And after that, he is my best buddy. So to get to that level, you have to climb at least 15 to 20 steps. For an initial starter, not to react to that insult or hurt is the best first step. And if you start doing that, step by step, you can improve to a level that you can change your enemies to your friends, to your best buddies, not just friends, best buddies. It is possible. I have done that, but it's very tough, extremely tough. You have to have so much of patience for that. So
I think that's wonderful as well, because generally whenever you are having this conversation that comes up, like, don't test my patience, don't test my patience, that's the one line that comes out. So people are actually following it, but what you are saying is the end goal of what it is, like, you
it is the theoretical part. It is possible also, but what I told her was the top end, the best.
Yeah, that's what I was coming
no
to.
No one can jump to that top level all of a sudden. It's not possible. Definitely it is not possible.
Yeah,
so if they want to come to that level, the first step should be keep quiet. If you can keep quiet, that's the first step. Then second thing, if you can remove that thought from your background mindset, then second. Third, then think about positively about this one, why he had done in a positive way. Find a reason, positive reason. He must be very much stressed, or he must be sick, or he is misinformed. That's why he is talking like that, or he is doing like that. Like that, find out a way, a positive thing about that kind of response. And the fourth one, this is something we call a compassionate attitude. Compassionate attitude to everyone, to self as well as to the others also. Compassionate attitude. It's not easy, and even if I could do it once, second time may not be possible for me. So because my mindset should be very good to have a patience and forgiveness. If my mindset is not good for a patience and forgiveness, I cannot do that. But if you do that, that will help you out. And one more point I can add, if you are forgiving someone, that will heal you. Otherwise, if you are not forgiving, that fire will be inside you. That fire will burn you for a long period. Yeah. Not the other person, you. So if you forgive, that fire is gone. So that burning pain and sensation will be lost. You will be feeling fresh. So forgiving is not for the benefit of the person who did the harm. It is for the person who already hurt.
I think on that particular thing, there is this thing that forgive but don't forget. Like, there is a saying that
it's very difficult, extremely difficult. I think it is one of the toughest thing. Yeah. But forgetting makes you vulnerable for the same insult again. That's the issue. So better not to forget, but forgive and not to forget together may be tough, I think.
Yeah,
I'm not.
That's wonderful, because
this is my opinion. This is, don't take all these things as the gospels. This is my personal experience, my personal readings, and my personal thinking. You can also express your thought process. I'm not a very good expert in that, but seeing so many patients, so many different patients and relatives, and so many persons in the society, we will have a better outlook on the perspectives of people. And we have to train ourselves Otherwise, we cannot deal all these people. So we are trained by force.
Someone said forgive with awareness. I think that makes sense. Forgive
Yeah,
with
that makes
awareness.
sense. With
Yeah.
awareness, maybe then that makes sense.
I think we have Alex who wants to jump in. He has raised his hand. Alex, if you can just.
Alex, you are unmuted. Please go ahead. Yash, you are unmuting him?
Yeah.
Okay. Alex, can you check now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now it's fine. Doctor, when can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
When I saw the promos for your talk today, I thought you would be talking about some, alternative therapies and various things, and I thought, some kind of age-old traditional Ayurvedic treatment. So I said, okay, I looked at your age and I said, you must be really remarkable to do whatever you're saying. And once I heard Dr. Sattar's introduction, I was convinced that you are truly gifted and blessed. And then when you came across with these 4 gems of living in the present moment, being proactive, and if you need to want happiness, to give something to somebody, and being gratitude. And I really loved the way, honestly, I'm telling you, I have been a regular attending a lot of workshops and seminars, but the way in which your each point came, it was like snow, it was like snowflakes, gentle. And what an amazing, I have never seen any speaker in the last 11 with so many people blessing them and wishing that God blesses you. Doctor, I mean, you're amazing. I even sent a message
Thank you.
to Dr.
Thank you.
Muniba
Thank you so much.
for being a cause in the matter of bringing you here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I certainly hope we have a much bigger platform for them to even hear the very same 4 things, each of them. I mean, I'm certainly going to listen to this recording quite a few times. Thank you very much, Doctor. Really
Yes.
appreciate it. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you so much. That's encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I will bring Madhusudanan. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Let me ask you one question.
Okay.
Do someone want to know what is embolization in detail?
Yeah, maybe you can give a small discussion about it.
Yeah, I didn't touch that part because it's a new thing, no? So maybe people will not be knowing what it is and what's the advantage is that.
Yeah.
Embolization is a procedure where what we are doing is we are going to the blood vessel. We are entering into the blood vessel and going to whichever blood vessel is there on the body and manipulating the blood supply. That's what embolization means. In most of the cases, what we are doing is we are cutting off the blood supply. So I started with this PPH, this postpartum hemorrhage, where the bleeding is happening from the uterus after the childbirth. What we did was we went through the small arteries, went into the uterine artery and blocked the blood vessels. So the bleeding into outside of the body stopped, patient became better, and there is no surgery, no anesthesia, and it's a small nick, and there is no suture, even there is no scar. And the same thing we applied to tumors like fibroids. I have done more than 250 cases in the last 1.5 years. In that one, what we are doing is, again, we are going through the small wrist artery, going to the uterus, enter into the blood vessel, supplying the fibroid, stop the blood supply of the fibroids. The fibroids need blood supply for its survival. And without the blood supply, it starts shrinking. And the patient's symptoms like excess menstrual bleeding, abdominal pain during menstruation, and abdominal distension, all these things are relieved within a day. The patient need to be in the hospital for only 1 day, no anesthesia, no scar, very less pain, can do all the activities immediately in the next day itself. And this is amazing because we are avoiding a surgery where the risk is more and the patient have to undergo anesthesia, patient will have some scar, you have to wait for some weeks to start doing all these things. Then we started doing prostate embolization. Prostate is something, a gland which is located just below the urinary bladder in most of the men. By age, after 50 years, 30 to 40 years, it enlarges. Once the prostate enlarges, it blocks a tube which is passing from the bladder into the outside of the body, that is urethra. It is getting compressed. When it gets compressed, these patients will have recurrent feeling of frequency of urination, incomplete urination, dribbling of urine, difficulty to hold urine, all the symptoms will be there. And initially how we manage these patients is basically through a surgery by putting a tube and removing all those prostate by surgically. It is having bleeding, sexual dysfunction, all side effects. And now what we are doing is again going through the small arteries, going to the prostate artery, blocking the blood supply, and the patient gets relief within 1 to 2 weeks, again avoiding a surgery. After this talk, I'm going to do the same prostate embolization. Patient is waiting for the procedure. I'm inside the hospital now. So then we started doing cases like bronchial artery embolization. When a patient came after tuberculosis, patient started a lot of blood and he was about to die because of this bleeding coming from the lungs. We again went into the arteries of the lungs, stopped the found out the bleeding area, stopped the bleeding. And the embolization is now expanding to multiple levels. Now we are doing embolizations for cancers in the liver, embolizations of the thyroid, and so many things. So this is what embolization is.
Mm-hmm. So what are the other surgeries you do? Like you said, for different cases. What are the different cases?
That usually cardiology means we are managing the heart diseases like angiograms to look whether the blocks are there. Then we'll do angioplasties to remove the blocks, and we do closure of the holes that is happening in the heart. That is device procedures, and some electrical problems. We'll do the ablation and all those things. These are the usual cardiology stuff. And apart from that, we started doing these embolizations for fibroid uterus, prostate enlargement in men,
that's what I'm asking.
and all these things.
Well, that's what I'm asking. So you do this process for
prostate, fibroid, uterine fibroids, prostate artery embolization for benign prostatic hyperplasia, that is the block of urination. Then for coughing out of blood, bronchial artery embolization. Then for postpartum hemorrhage, bleeding during the bleeding during the delivery, that is postpartum hemorrhage. Then the other things that is coming up. So already this is happening in the Western world is when there are liver cancer, some of them can be managed by the same techniques called chemoembolization. And some of the thyroid swellings can be done like this. And we are about to start doing cases for frozen shoulder, one shoulder which cannot move because of the pain and stiffness. This can be applied. Even for osteoarthritis of the knee, that is the difficulty in and pain, movement and pain, we can do that. So many things are there. So many new things are happening in the world, but it is not popular. Nobody is popularizing. So what I'm doing is going there, learning things, introducing that to my hospital, to the nearby states, and even to the GCC. We are planning to, I was supposed to get my GCC license last month, but because of the COVID, I couldn't come for the interview. I was planning to come every month, once or 2 days every month to Dubai. And everything was set, but because of the COVID, I couldn't come for the interview. So hope after the COVID, I'll be coming soon.
Yeah, that's what someone said in the group. You know, you should be coming to Dubai and we should meet up the same group again. You know, the messages I'm seeing in the chat, it's like, wow. Like everybody's inviting, when you come to Dubai, please have a...
Actually, I'm not seeing the chat. That's why I'm not responding.
Right. Okay.
If you want me to respond, please, if you can read the chat or something like that, I'll do that.
Yash?
My screen is far away. That's the issue.
Okay.
So one thing that I can say from the chat box is there have been people saying wonderful, wonderful stuff about your talk. Every other person is thanking you. So every other person.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thanks, doctor.
Your encouragement means a lot. That makes I'll find more time to talk to you in the future and to other audience also. I'll try to talk more.
Okay.
One of the things about the whole Corona thing is like it's a very practical question relevant to what it is happening. So like if the people are currently scared, if they have some sort of a system and they're currently scared of going even to go to the doctor as well, so how you can convince them that okay, you need to go and see the doctor? Because I've been seeing some situations back in India only that people are not coming out because they are somewhere scared that we may not have, but if we go to the hospital, we may have. So on that particular issue, because it's quite relevant, and from the doctor perspective, what it is.
Yeah. Let me clarify. The question is, if the patient wants to go to the hospital for some other purpose, because of the COVID, they are afraid to come to the hospital. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So I used to get a lot of calls to asking me, my regular visit is coming up this month or this week. Should I come and see you? So I used to ask them, do you have any main issues? They are saying, no, I don't have any issues. I used to say them, don't come to the hospital, be there at home and take those prescriptions and continue the same medicines. After 1 or 2 months, even once everything's settled, you can come and meet me. That's my response. But someone who is asking about the thing that I'm having some chest discomfort or pain or something like that, I used to ask them. So every step in the world has got a benefit and got a risk. Even if in the non-COVID era too, if you are traveling to the hospital, there is a chance of road traffic accident. There is a chance of so many things when you are coming out of this. So even in the COVID era also, the risk is there, but the risk is more because there is something called COVID there to infect you. But the coming to the hospital if the benefit of coming to the hospital is more, then you should come. If the risk is more, you should not come. How do you assess that? If you are having a heart attack, that coming to the hospital is definitely will be helpful. You should come. But if you are having some common cold or headache or some small disease that you think is not important, don't come to the hospital. Instead of that, what you can do is you can use the telemedicines, so that you are not at all taking any risk, but you are getting at least 80% advantage of going to the hospital, not even if it is not 100%.
I think that's the risk assessment that is in. I think we have a couple of people who have raised a hand, Pankaj and Rajeshwari. I'll just ask Pankaj to... Yeah. Pankaj, you can go ahead.
Yes, doctor, thank you so much. I was the one who suggested that when you come to Dubai, you should please find time one evening for us to get together and get a further chance to talk and interact with you.
Sure, why not? I'm so happy to meet you.
Yeah, no, really. This is my first of the 11 or 12 sessions. For some reason, I found it the right time today to sit down and do the session. I'm really glad I did it. I really wanted you to share your contact details because there are several people I would like to refer to you for some of the procedures that you mentioned, which are less invasive and are safer and faster recovery. So that is a very important part of what you should definitely give us is your contact details.
Yeah. Can I tell a phone number that everybody can use it? It's my coordinator.
Email address and phone number, both, please.
Yeah. My email address is drtahsin, that is Tahsin, n for n and at gmail.com. drtahsin@gmail.com. And the phone number is 9656 000 737. You should add +91.
This is a WhatsApp number, sir?
9656 000 737.
Is this a WhatsApp number?
I have an apology to make because this is not my personal number. This is my coordinator's number. My usual working pattern is 15 hours a day. So it's not possible for me to attend most of the calls. I have so many persons to help me. And one of the coordinator is Nishida. And this is the number of Nishida. Who wants to get in touch, please send the details and all those things to her. And in case necessary, I'll keep in touch with you. You'll get all the information. She's very much experienced.
All right. Thank you so much, sir.
I think we have Rajeshwari saying something, if you can unmute.
Yeah, please.
I will unmute Rajeshwari. Rajeshwari, you are not unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hi, doctor.
Hi.
Talk and it was very beautiful. It was very beautiful listening to you and being in my dream that I had to be a doctor once upon a time, but due to some other reasons I could not pursue medicine. Now the concern is here coming to the COVID-19, there are a lot of research which is happening and I'm also keep following everything. So is it true that COVID is affecting the brain?
Yeah, it is true. It will affect, but it is in the later stages. Any viral infection, not only COVID, Any viral infection, even our common cold and all those, any viral infection can affect the heart, can affect the lungs, can affect the liver, can affect the brain. So even our usual herpes infections, it can cause. So COVID also is causing, but it's very, very rare.
All right, doctor. Okay, let me unmute Vivek. Vivek, you are unmuted. Please go ahead. Vivek Aditya.
Thank you, Fazil. Hi, doctor.
Hi.
This is Vivek Aditya. I have met you in person last December in MIMS Kottakkal for an embolization for my family friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
And actually, I wanted to tell all the people in this chat that how embolization really helps, because I personally experienced what is embolization because my family friend was suffering from a uterine fibroid, which is a very huge size that is more than, it's like 11 centimeters something, 11 millimeters. I'm not sure. And the doctor said it is more than a tennis ball. So actually we were from Tamil Nadu, and it was very difficult for us to go through for any medical procedure. Everybody was suggesting to remove the uterus for my family friend, and she was so scared to do that. And we searched a lot of websites and everything. At last we found out about embolization in Kottakkal, and I contacted doctor's assistant Anishida. She's a very wonderful person, and we went there, and the procedure was completed in one day. The most beautiful part is, as doctor said about patients. See, normally doctor may have the patients to respond to the patient or to the family members and like that. But all the staffs who were there on the hospital, I stayed for 2 days, because my family friend, after having this treatment, she is a very sensitive person, so she couldn't control the pain. She was suffering from a lot of pain because she is very sensitive. Every time I went to, all those staff nurses were there on the duty. They were like our family members. They were so patient. They were so friendly. They were giving all the comfort. Like, we never felt that we are in some other town. Actually, I don't know Malayalam. Not even a word I couldn't understand. But they were like, it was like I was in my home, and they gave us the hospitality and everything. Like, it was like a family, and the embolization was just, it went like that. So we were very happy, and my family friend now, she's also very happy. We didn't go for any surgery. The uterus was not removed, and I really thank doctor for such a wonderful thing that was in India. Even because we tried something in abroad and all, we couldn't make anything. But in India, in nearby state Kerala, we were able to have such a wonderful treatment. I have also referred to many of my friends who are suffering from fibroids. Thank you so much, doctor, for bringing this such a wonderful treatment like method of embolization into India. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I didn't expect such a person is coming to talk to me.
Absolutely.
It's a real surprise to me.
Amazing. This is it. Law of attraction. Now I will unmute Srimad. Okay. Srimad, you are unmuted. Please go ahead. Your voice is not coming out. Srimad, can you try to speak now? Okay. Can you turn off your video? Maybe then it will work. Can you please turn off your video? Then try. Okay. Can you try now? After Srimad, I will request Kalpana to talk. I think he can't. Okay, Kalpana, I will unmute you now. Okay, Kalpana, you are unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hi, nice motivational talk, doctor. I thought being a cardiologist, you will be talking something about the cholesterol and maintaining the health and everything. I was really surprised and really motivated to take all these pearls that you have mentioned. Surely I'm going to take it and take it forward. Let today be my first trial of all these pearls, and let me do it. I'm doing it. I'm sure all of them in this particular room, in this virtual meeting, will be doing it for sure. That motivation of your speech was. And
thank you so much.
I'm a nutrition and dietetics. I did my degree post graduation in, and how far this nutrition has taken his lead in terms of maintaining the good health. in this, COVID-19?
Yeah, that is actually not only in COVID-19. Whenever you have the opportunity to have a good diet, I think you will be a better expert than me. But my perspective is that always to have a good nutritious diet without avoiding all those things which can damage your liver, kidney, and all those things. But it's tough. It's not an easy task. Being a cardiologist, sometimes when I start eating in some meetings or some outlets, some of my friends used to ask, "Are you really a cardiologist?" Because I can't control sometimes, so it's difficult, but I'm trying. So same to you also. Try to control your urges to the maximum, but still try to have a good, nutritious, healthy food. It's very important.
Of course. Thank you, sir.
All right. We have another 15 more minutes. If you have any more questions, please put in the chat box. I can unmute you now. I will unmute Jing He. Jing, you will be unmuted right now. Okay, Jing, you are unmuted. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So, no, I didn't raise my hand to ask a question or anything, but I think Fido is just really being really nice and wanting to promote something. It was just really amazing. I was listening and I had some connection problems earlier, but I was able
Thank you.
You can hear me?
Yeah, I can.
It was just something new also. Yeah. Of course, all the 4 points are just so many people talking about it. But coming from your point of view and sharing from your stories and your personal experience, it just really brings new light, and people are touched and moved. And I was really touched and moved by you sharing, and also people reacting the way they are, and because they put themselves in there and they got that, and it's just so wonderful to see. And then the new procedure that you shared about embolization. Something, it was amazing. I was learning new things as well. I was looking at it as like, wow, this is so cool, and this is what we're talking about, having a young aspiring leader like you taking the challenge and really bring something that makes the difference to people. So I'm really grateful and to be in this space and to really be here today and learn new things from you. So thank you so much for being here and sharing with us. Amazing. Yeah, just great.
Thank you, Jing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me try Srimadh. Okay, Srimadh, you are unmuted now. Can you please try now? I think he have an issue. Right, I think he still have an issue. Okay, let us. Can you give us some practical suggestions? The people who are sitting at home doing nothing and just blaming the corona, blaming the economy. Can you speak few words to become productive? You said about productive. Can you share a few words about how to take really an action? Like what we really did, it's a bigger game, rather than I even personally myself, like I was almost a month sitting at home, blaming the economy, blaming the COVID. But what we did last 15 days, it's phenomenal. We really touched 300, 400 people live today. We had around 72 people join the sessions today. That's something like this. What do you really recommend the people out there to take some actions?
The inactivity actually breeds fear and desperation. And activity makes you courageous. So if you are feeling fearful, do something that relieves the fear. If you are not doing, that fear will overcome you. That's the basic thing. So that's the same thing. I did a Facebook Live for covering or reacting towards that news of a suicide of one of the persons in Dubai. So like that, everyone, the ability of each and everyone will be different. They can, if ladies can try some cooking stuff or some reading some motivational books, joining some organizations like this, or doing some kind of giving to the, don't always try to get something out of it. please think about how can I give, how can I give, how can I give always. And this is a time to show the gratitude also. Gratitude towards your parents, gratitude towards your siblings, towards your wife, towards your friends, everyone. And you can start doing or taking note of the gratitude diary so that you will feel good. So this is possible. That basically we all, the brain, everything happens inside the brain. If somebody is hitting you on the hand, that pain is perceived in the brain. If I am cutting off the connection to the brain, that hitting is not affecting me, not affecting my mind. So if somebody can change the programming of the brain in such a way that even if you are not experiencing a thing, you can experience it. Even if it is not there, you can experience it. Even if you are not hearing as music, you can hear it. Even if you are not seeing something, you can have it. So everything is electrical stimuli. So you can also manipulate in such a way that if you are giving continuously to knowledge or respect, anything, whatever you have, your mind is manipulated in such a way you will feel good. That's my message. That's I have practiced.
This is really a powerful thing. Yeah, giving.
This is actually I'm also learning. This is this is what I learned in the last few months or years.
Manipulating
so I'm also learning.
Yeah.
So what I practiced is this is what I practiced. I have so many other points which I haven't practiced. So I didn't tell you those points because I haven't practiced. Let me try those points, practice myself, and once I'm feeling that it is working, I'll tell you in the next talk.
Wow, yeah, that's what people were asking. How can we join your Facebook Live and watch your wisdom sessions?
please send me friend requests. I am accepting most of the friends requests, no issues. I'll accept yours. So whenever there is a Facebook Live, I'll tell. And if you are a non-Malayali, that if you don't understand my language, local language, you can ask for an English talk. I can do that if you are having a difficulty on that.
Okay.
Most of the Facebook Lives are in the local language. That's the issue. But I do write in this one. I'm active in Instagram also. So I'll be posting new things. So if you search my Facebook profile, you will see all those new procedures that we have done, the embolizations of prostate and everything I have posted in the Facebook.
All right, I'm trying to find your Facebook page to share in the group.
Thank you, doctor. I think we can share with the Facebook profile we can share it in the WhatsApp group that we have. So if we can post the WhatsApp group details here, and then we can or we already have your Facebook link here. So whoever wants to check it out in his Facebook page. Thanks a lot, doctor. It was a very wonderful talk, and this is not me speaking or Faisal speaking. This is what the whole chat box is saying right now. Everybody is thanking you a lot. Your humbleness and the calmness of how you delivered this talk was amazing.
Yeah, actually, this person, Manjunath, he was trying to speak. He finally write the question. He says, how doctor works 12 to 14 hours a day with the same energy level dealing with the patients. May I please share your secret?
This is the question I used to get from every corner of from my friends, from my colleagues, and so if you are chasing your passion, you will not get tired. I used to ask them, I got the same question from one of my friends when I finished the procedures at 11:30 in the night and going home. And he asked, don't you feel tired? Then I asked, what is the best and what is the most important or interesting thing to Mr. Sachin Tendulkar, you can say. Sachin Tendulkar. Then he said, cricketing. Okay, and he's playing his favorite game, and he's getting fame, and he's getting paid, and he's getting everything out of that. What he's doing is he's playing his favorite game. And I asked him, what is your favorite game? Then he told, I do play some video games. I asked him, if you are playing video game and you are getting money, you are getting fame, you are getting thanks from so many persons for playing the video game, do you stop playing video game? He said, no, that's what I'm doing. When I'm doing my practice, I'm doing something new, something special, some procedures. I'm relieving the sufferings of people. that makes me immensely happy. So it's my passion too. This is not a job. This is not a work. Actually, this is my passion. Practice is my passion. Cardiology is my passion. Introducing new things, learning new things is my passion. So I don't feel tired. I don't feel fatigued. That's my feeling. I don't know what others are feeling. This is my thing. So when you are training your kids, don't ask them to follow your steps. Please ask them to follow their passion. Once they are into their passion, they will never feel fatigued.
Thanks a lot. I think that's a wonderful advice, that follow your passion and you will never feel tired. I think looking at the time now, we need to conclude the Q&A session. And if there is some other questions, we'll just put it across your coordinators and we'll try to get it out and reach it out to the community as well. Again, thanks a lot. What we want from you is now is just a couple of minutes in terms of how was your overall experience doing this session with us? What are your thoughts in the mind right now? And if there is some 1 or 2 liner message that you want to give to the community right now.
First of all, thank you so much for giving this opportunity, because if I am reading, if I am practicing, if I am having some knowledge, it may be useful for me, or at the max those people who are around me. But because of this opportunity, I could reach up to so many people who are different, from different ethnicities, different races, different religion, different languages. And I hope this message was useful to them. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I am thankful to the Empowerment Talk arrangements and Mr. Faisal, Yash, all those who work behind. And also to my dear friend, Dr. Muniba, for introducing me to this one. And to all the listeners who are passionately listening to me around half an hour to 40, more than an hour nearly. So thank you so much. And my message to you is, please don't, you will be feeling good now because you got something special. You'll be feeling good. You'll be excited. But that excitement will not last long. It will be lost. So before that excitement is lost, start practicing. Live the moment. Be proactive. Start giving something to your fellow beings, and have gratitude to everything that you have. And thank you so much.
Yeah, Dr. Muniba has raised the hand. Let me unmute Dr. Muniba. Dr.
Yeah,
Muniba,
sure.
please go ahead. Then we will move to Sadiq. Yeah.
Yes. Just to say thanks to Faisal, Yash, and many thanks to Tahsin for coming online and giving us this motivational speech. I was looking forward to it. I am attending the meeting from my clinic. Thanks to all of you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now, one more, I think Madhusudanan. Okay, you are unmuted. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, doctor. Hearty congratulations for a wonderful speech. You have so much knowledge and wisdom beyond your age. I think you should also thank your parents and your teachers for the upbringing, for what you are today.
Really?
I have two questions, doctor.
Yeah.
I have two questions. Number one, you said about that embolization. When was that actually started? When that intervention or whatever it is, surgery? How many years back it was started in India?
Long. Actually, the fibroid embolization in the Western world, it was started in 1995, nearly 25 years back. In Western world, and fibroid embolization is there in India for the more than a decade long. It will be there for the last 10 years. And we started fibroid embolization. And it is we started around 2.5 years back.
What's the success rate, doctor, of that?
Fibroid, the success rate is 90%, and prostate, the success rate is 80%.
80%. Yeah. Okay, doctor. The second question is, see, in today's TV news, it was, the Western world, especially the US, they are planning to remove the lockdown totally. What will be the impact of that, according to you? Is it a good move? Because as it is, so many people are dying in the US and Europe. If they remove the lockdown, what will happen? What will be your
lockdown will be useful only if the number of infected persons are very less. Let us say if the number of infected persons are very low, then the lockdown will help to reduce the spread of the virus. But if the number of infected persons are very high, there is no point in locking down, because already those people who are on the streets are infected. There's nothing more that we are gaining out of lockdown. So the ultimate aim is to get a vaccine as early as possible and vaccinate most people. That will take anywhere between 3 to 6 months from now. So that's the hope that we have. And the corona, the mortality rate is around 2 to 3%, not more than that. So even if you are getting infected, there is a 97% chance that you will survive.
All right, Yash. Now,
thank you, Dr. Tahseen. I think a wonderful talk, wonderful session, and we are obliged and we are very much thankful for you to be here. Thanks a lot again from the Empowerment Talks teams as well. Now, for tomorrow, tomorrow's session, we have Mr. Syed Haris. He's in the business of making people believe they can do better. He's an educator with over 15 years of experience. He has creatively designed and conducted various training programs for teachers, students, parents, professionals, and businessmen on topics such as Teachers for Tomorrow. So he's an educator. He will be speaking to us about emotional intelligence, how you can excel with emotional intelligence. We recommend you to come tomorrow. We are hosting episode 12. Another interesting topic, another thing that we want you to listen about, and how you can excel on your emotional intelligence. Now, we have Mr. Sadiq now, who will be doing the vote of thanks session for us. So, Mr. Sadiq, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. When I heard yesterday that we're going to have a cardiologist speaking today, I was honestly speaking expecting a very boring 1.5 hours. But for the last every single minute, I don't know, we call it flow, being in the moment. We don't know how the time, is the time really passing, or the time was frozen for the last 1.5 hours. Honestly, the time was literally frozen. First of all, my thanks to Dr. Muniba for giving us this invaluable opportunity to listen to Dr. Tahseen. I won't get into the content, which has been very well explained, and I'm sure there is a lot of comments came in the chat box. I'm more of actually admired by the way Dr. presented the whole thing today. I heard this term that complexity leads to simplicity, but today I found that is in practice. A doctor who has a routine of 15 hours working a day, that too, dealing with heart patient, nothing, is there anything more serious in life than doing his own readings? I'm sure without tons of reading, this kind of wisdom is not possible, and a lot of time to give it to the people for all his wisdoms, using all the novel the social media platforms. So where is the time? This is the best answer to those people who always complains about lack of time. And I always wish that a doctor must be felt. Today I felt a doctor, because sometimes what they say is that a doctor can be a placebo. You don't need to give any medicine, just that presence. In my hometown back home in Kerala, there were a few doctors in the remote village, and people used to say that we just, if I just go and see the doctor's face, my half of the disease is gone. So, and unfortunately, sometimes the doctor can be a nocebo as well. So today we have seen. I wish Dr. Tahsin can take this to the whole healthcare ecosystem. That a doctor with that thinking, nurturing care. So this is one area I'm sure you can contribute a lot to the humanity. And thank you is not a word. I don't know. That word cannot contain our gratitude to you for enlightening us today. I read a bit, but a few books actually invoke tears in my ears. But today, the way you narrated the experience, first, especially the first one about that lady's experience, and you became sleepless after that. Being empathetic towards that painful experience of a patient or another human being. Actually, I got tears in my eyes. I had to wipe my ears a couple of times. So there was English novelist called Doris Lessing. She won the Nobel Prize in 2007. She said, "Pearls mean tears." I could experience that both together today. We had the pearls, we had the full pearls, and I had the tears in my ears. So nothing more I can expect from a talk. And like Alex very rightly said, I felt like a snowfall. No, we all felt like a snowfall. We had the chat box filled with comments appreciating beyond words. And Kalpana also said the same thing. And all of us, thank you very much. We can't thank enough. And we hope to see you again and again in the platform as long as the empowerment talks is going on. Thank you very much, Doctor. And thank you everyone for being with us today. We hope to see you all. And over to you, Faisal and Yash.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's it. We decided to end at 2:05. We are 2:06, 1 minute late. Thank you so much, Doctor. What I want to say is go and play a bigger game. That's it. We believe you have the power, you have the potential to have a bigger and bigger game. Thank you so much. Looking forward to see you again. Thank you, everyone. You can stay in the chat. You can stay in the group another 10 minutes to read out what is there in the chat box. And exactly at 2:15, the session will be closed. Feel free to give any feedback. Thank you, Doctor. All right, I will unmute few people to share if you want to say anything. Ashok, I think you came later. Sandosh, few words. Shidal, then Shidal. Sandosh, you are unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hi Faisal. Thank you so much again. I mean, this become addiction to me, to be very honest. Even if it's late or early, I don't want to miss these sessions. And again, I was thinking of the doctor. Then I thought, okay, what a doctor will speak. Usually healthcare or something related, but this was something divine. This was something very emotional and spiritual and a lot of things, So thanks for getting all these people on board, and thanks to Dr. Muniba too. She's an angel always.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Sandosh. Shidal, then Kasim Puttambarakal. Shidal, you are unmuted. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Faisal.
Yeah.
Starting with you and Yash. Thank you. It is amazing. And you know what? So late in this journey, I'm realizing that I can post this on Facebook so more people can join in. And actually, they can change. I mean, what doctor said today was so amazing. Like if we follow each and every person you've interviewed, I mean, in this all these empowerment talks which we had, and if we take in each and every, just imagine where we will go. So thank you.
Thank you.
We are blessed that we are having this at such a moment of time. When people say that, oh, we are bored and we are this, I wonder, because I feel that I'm more busy now. You know what I mean? And all these talks are making us so, it's so inspiring, so making us be proactive. Everything is happening together.
Thank you so much. I remember where we started, and you are one of the reasons. Thank you so much, Sheetal, for standing behind us and making this happen. You made us to do the bigger game. Kasim, now Kasim, then Varada. Kasim, I'm unmuting you. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Empowerment Talk team. Thank you, Faisal, Sadiq Bhai, and Yash. I'm speechless, in fact. I don't know what to say. Awesome and very inspiring talks. Like everyone said, I was expecting something about cholesterol, LDL, HDL, and etc. The talk has completely changed our minds and the way we see things, and our perception or whatever it is. So once again, thank you all for bringing him in, and thank you, Dr. Muniba, also for bringing these priceless gentlemen to the platform. Thank you all. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Kasim. Varada, then Vivek Aditya. Varada, you are unmuted. Please go ahead. Okay. I think Varada, one more minute. Varada, you are unmuted. Please go ahead.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Tashim, for this wonderful session. It's sometimes a common thing, but we don't practice it. Though I try to do as much as possible, I won't say every time. And thank you, Faisal, Yash, and all the team who are behind, and especially Dr. Muniba, because she is the one who brought him in. So thank you so much, and keep going. I miss initial sessions, and past 2-3 sessions, I think I'm regular, and I will be. Thank you, and all the best. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Vivek, and then Mufi Butwala. Vivek, you are unmuted. Please go ahead. I think Vivek is not available. Mufi Butwala, can you hear me? Yeah, please. Vivek, you go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Faisal. This is the first session I'm attending in this group, and I've missed a lot of sessions. I'm so happy to be in this group, and this was a wonderful talk by the doctor, and tomorrow is also there is a good session for me. I'm really enjoying this. Thank you so much for adding me in this.
No problem. Please join the WhatsApp group. There you can download the same video of the whole session, and as well as